Hi, Rory. Thanks for taking the call.
No, I'm honoured to speak to you. How are you feeling?
Disappointed, obviously, to say the least. But every game, it's the hope that kills you. You know, you always think that we're going to turn a corner. We start off the first 10, 15 minutes, skipping our step. You think that the change is there and, we're back to our old ways and what have you. But I'm just phoning in really because just to address some of the points of views that I've been listening. I know football's subjective, but honestly, sometimes I think, have you, including yourself and some of the callers, did you watch the same game as I watched? I mean, first of all, I take exception with regards to the atmosphere. Yeah, Old Trafford can be a morgue sometimes, and that is down to the amount of day trippers that we get.
Were you in there today, Ian? Are you on your way home from the game?
In there. I was right. I was right in the middle of the Stretford end, and we sang our hearts out for nearly 90 minutes. But and the hardened fans will always do that. But any supporter needs to be stimulated. They need to have something to sing about. And obviously, the performances that United have been putting in over the years, it certainly makes it challenging to bring an atmosphere to Old Trafford sometimes. But today, the atmosphere was superb. But also as well, I'll take an exception about Bruno Fernandes and you guys saying that he's a world-class footballer. I'm one of his worst critics. I really am. The guy is so overrated. And the reason why some people laud him is the fact that, he stands out amongst a shower of dross, average players. And that's what we are at the minute. And people have to understand that. We are a mid-table side, hopefully, in a rebuilding process. But, once you accept that we're a mid-table side and we're an average mid-table side, then you can start, believing again and believing that things are going to change.
So what do you take an issue with? Because I was saying that Bruno Fernandes is your most likely port for a goal, your most likely answer, your most prodigious player, your most mercurial talent. You disagree with that?
Well, absolutely. But to be fair to him, I thought he had a half-decent game today. And I think someone was stated earlier about being mystified about him being taken off. He was putting in the balls and making the passes and making things happen. So today, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I thought he was one of our best players, but I can't understand how Ugarte's not being mentioned in, sort of world class and best players and whatever. So far this season, even though he started off the bench on half a dozen games, he has been by far our most consistent and best player. He's like a dynamo. He drives that midfield. He's superb.
Ian, that might be true. I'm sure that is true about what you're saying about him being the dynamo. But in terms of your most likely outlet for a goal, your most likely outlet for an assist, your most likely outlet for a key pass, it is Bruno Fernandes, isn't it? Whether you like him, whether you think he's good enough, within your ranks, the best player that Manchester United have is Bruno Fernandes.
Rory, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, okay, but it's sporadic. Okay, he disappears in the game. He gets frustrated. He's, as a captain, when the backs are against the wall, he disappears. But you're absolutely right, He can make that telling pass, that will lead to a goal or start a passage of play or what have you. But just before we finish, what I have got a massive issue with, okay, and, most of the callers, if you ask them this question when they call in, okay, the slow play of United, it drives the crowd crazy. They've got to pass the ball amongst their back four at least a dozen times before they move it forward. What happened to the slide ball pass? The amount of times that the centre midfielders, Mainu, Ugarte, were available, okay, as a straight ball from the centre-backs into midfield, and they just don't pass it. And then eventually it will get there about 12 passes later. Why not make that pass?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean, Ian. It can be a bit lethargic, and that kind of approach is definitely not in keeping with the traditions of Manchester United, who historically attack.
It drives the crowd crazy. It really does. But then again, mate, I had a superb view there today, and looking at whole pitch, there's hardly any movement. There's no movement. So, the centre-backs have got the ball. There's no movement whatsoever. Everybody's static. It's like a chessboard. However, there are passes on through the centre of the field. Why aren't they making those passes? We can see it in the crowd, and it's been a point of discussion on social media and chat sites and what have you for months, if not for a couple of years now. We can see it. Why can't the managers?
It is very tricky. Ian, thank you so much for your call. I think a lot of the time as well, you have to give the opposition credit. That opposition midfield today really did take the game to Manchester United and didn't make it easy at all. Nitin.
Hello. Hi, Rory. How are you?
I'm very well, Nitin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a Man United fan, unfortunately. So, yeah, tough times.
I mean, it was about as bad as it could be today. I mean, that's consecutive defeats now in the space of 4 days. How are you feeling overall?
To be honest with you, apart from those 3 mistakes defensively, I thought we were okay this game. I thought this game was probably by far the best one we have seen on Amorim's,
Yeah, but Nitin, you can't. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can dismiss the 3 mistakes. You can't go apart from those 3 mistakes.
Absolutely.
Those 3 mistakes were schoolboy. They were worse than that. Those 3 mistakes wouldn't be acceptable at amateur level. They were so poor.
Yeah, I mean, we are obviously reaping rewards for Mr. Ten Hag's recruitment and player choices, isn't it? Andre Onana is obviously a question mark. Yeah, I agree he's got a good season so far, but it is always a bit nervous with him. You just don't know what to expect. Lisandro Martinez, he was good in the first season. Since his injury, I think he's just making a mockery of himself, Sometimes he makes ridiculous decisions. Do you remember when he kind of tried to jump with 2 foot on a Crystal Palace player?
Yes.
All those things about. So you can't trust these players. But my main concern at the moment is United are 13th. I think they are slowly getting dragged into a relegation fight, really. I'll explain you why I think so. First of all, the attack can't score goals. It is very, very poor. Most important thing is every single team in Premier League or even Championship or Europe or wherever knows that if you put a little bit of a pressure on these Manchester United players, they will wilt. They have low mentality, they have weakness, and they will kind of start falling apart. That's what everyone does, like every single team, Forest, Southampton, whoever it may be. As long as you come and just pressurize them a wee bit, you get a chance. And unfortunately, Amorim is trying to bring his new system in the middle of a season. Most of the mistakes Man United did before the actual bad mistake, it was due to the unfamiliarity with the system. Bruno losing the ball with Lenny Yoro, it's just because they're figuring out what is going on,
Nitin, do you know, I can assure you of this. I can tell that you're feeling very flat. I can tell that you're feeling very disenfranchised from the team and just gutted with that performance. But I promise you, it isn't as bad as you're suggesting. You are not in a relegation fight. That is just impossible. There are undoubtedly there are a chasm of teams capable of going down before you. The gap between you and the relegation is significant.
I'm not going to say we're going to get relegated, but we are actually in amongst those teams at the moment. As long as we somehow finish 10th, 11th, 12th, I don't really want any trophies this season, but I want a good training, good identity, good. Amorim is the man for at least 2 years, I would say. After a long, long time, we have a manager who is at least honest, who knows how to speak, who has the character to be a Manchester United manager.
I think all of the above is true, Nitin, but the problem, I think what you're saying is true. The problem that you have, though, is that it doesn't matter if he's the best manager to have ever lived. It doesn't matter if he's Jose Mourinho 2005. This squad are so average.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying, basically. So if they finish off 10th, 11th, win no trophies, don't care. Most likely FA Cup and Carabao Cup are gone because we're facing Spurs and Arsenal next. We'll definitely lose that. Europa League, we can give it a shot, but as long as we have a good identity, good system in place, and as long as Amorim can choose who he can rely on and get rid of all the other players, which I think the board will support because Ineos, whatever it is, they're not playing around. They want it to work. So that's really where we are. This season has to be
just a write-off, and then start afresh next season.
Absolutely, yeah. Brilliant. I mean, Ineos made a mistake by keeping Ten Hag on. you got to take for those mistakes, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Nitin, thank you so much for your call. I really do appreciate it.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.